So you may have heard of the 80-20 rule. This rule applies to everything in life. Pretty much you can apply this rule to everything. And the truth is that 20% of your clients will cause you 80% of your pain. It's true. And unfortunately, it's true. And it is usually down to not being able to read your client. And when you're starting out, that is one of the hardest things to do, is to read whether you're going to be a good fit with your prospective client. So, things to look out for. So my big one is, if someone turns up and they have been to multiple aesthetic practitioners, whether they are medical or non-medical. If it's someone who's had their lips done by somebody and then had cheeks done by somebody else, or they've had Botox here and then Botox there and Botox everywhere else, there's no consistency. You don't know what someone has put in somewhere, and you know what filler someone's used. You don't know. There are so many variables here. So firstly, there is also, the rule that most insurance companies go by, that it is a minimum of 6 months between different fillers. So if a client has gone to another, even if it's a medical practitioner, and they have put Juvederm in someone's lips, and then they go to another practitioner and they get Restylane put into the lips, and then they end up having an infection. The truth is, you don't know which filler caused the infection, if it was a filler issue, if it was, say, a viral or bacterial infection and caused the filler to react, or, a delayed infection. You don't know. You can't really pinpoint these things. So the truth is, you're kind of stuck. You and the other practitioner are both, in a tricky position, because you don't know which filler and you don't know who's to blame, and neither of you may be to blame, but your recourse is a bit messy. So there is the blanket rule of 6 months, and to be honest, 6 months isn't enough. Like delayed infections in fillers can happen 2 years down the road, but 6 months is just a guide, I think, really, However, if somebody has been to multiple practitioners, they are not able to stay consistent, and it's either that they don't like the practitioner. So if they've been to multiple practitioners and they talk crap about those practitioners, you are just going to be next. You're just going to be the next practitioner they talk crap about. They're not going to be happy with whatever you have to do, because they are generally, this is a very generalization, they're incapable of being happy if they are someone who's been to multiple practitioners. So politely turn them away, or politely delay them, or whatever you feel the need to do to distance yourself from the situation. But they are rarely people who will be good clients, who you'll build a nice rapport with. You might just build a headache. That's the reality. Harsh words, but true. Another one to step back from would be someone with obvious, because it can be very difficult to pick up, body dysmorphia disorder. So if somebody, again, some telltale signs, somebody who has had loads of work done, trying to attain that perfection, and that bodily perfection, is you're not going to attain it. You're just going to make them unhappier and they'll blame you. So some signs of body dysmorphia will be if somebody comes to your clinic with 200 pictures of themselves on your phone, and they point out something that you cannot see, so say it's like, oh, I had my filler done and there's a little lump here and you can't see it. And because you will have an aesthetic eye. So oftentimes people think you're gaslighting them if you can't see it, but oftentimes it's really, really not visible. Or if it is minuscule and probably unfixable without opening a massive can of worms and creating more trouble than it's worth. 220 pictures of themselves on their phone, and they're all taken the exact same time, and they're tilting their heads in different ways, and they go, look, but you can't see it here, but if you go to this picture here, you can kind of see what I mean. You need to stay away. These are people who have analysed every centimetre, every millimetre of their face, and they know their face inside and out. And if they think that something is wrong, or they think that you haven't done the right job or anything like that, they are going to be on it, very much on it. And they are going to hound you. They're going to be banging down your door. I've had my fair share. It's gotten to a point where I can see body dysmorphia before it comes through my door. And I really avoid it. There's very little I would do. I used to be the hero, and when I started out first, going, oh no, I can fix that. And a lot of times I really could. And I gained a lot of clients from fixing, masking maybe some bad jobs, and that was fine. But then as it goes on, you realize there's way more body dysmorphia out there now than there ever was. And so if you're going to get people who will phone you up afterwards anyway and say, oh, I think one side is bigger than the other. And I always say, wait 2 weeks, because swelling takes 2 weeks. And that's pretty much standard. Wait 2 weeks. And if one side is still bigger than the other, come back to me and I will balance you out. However, what often, like say if it's lips, obviously, but, and oftentimes people don't look at their lips. They don't look at their face until they've had something done. And then they realize, oh, is that meant to be that way? Or was it always like that? Was that side always a little bit bigger? And so then you can become a focus of the problem. So that's why we take before and after pictures. So you can go back to your before and after pictures and say, no, actually, look, you had this problem all along. It's your insurance, essentially, to someone who has an issue with your treatment. But oftentimes that it is just a trick of the mind. Like someone will go, oh, I didn't realize I had that before. And then if they look back on pictures, you go, oh, hang on, my lip was always like that. And nobody is symmetrical and everything else. So if you do have someone with body dysmorphia disorder, you are never, ever going to make them happy, because you'll never make them symmetrical. If somebody is incredibly nervous, that is not a good sign, because if they're nervous before they come in, they may have problems with the aftercare, in that it doesn't matter, they can't hear the aftercare. Now often you'd give printed aftercare as well, but or what to expect after the procedure. But if somebody is incredibly nervous coming in through your doors, and then they get their lips done and 4 hours later their lips swell and they double in size, which can happen, they will panic, and you don't want that. I always offer people I give them my phone number, and I tell them to don't even think twice about messaging me after a treatment. And I'm always at the end of the phone, especially after treatments. And it's mainly because if somebody does panic, it's terrifying. It can be terrifying. It is your face at the end of the day. And if you feel like your face is ruined, that can be a very, very scary experience for anybody. And this is why, again, the medical, ethical side of things is, you are available for follow-up care. You are available for reassurance. It's very important, because if you have a panicker, this is a whole different video, but if you do have a panicker and you are not available to talk them down off the ledge and reassure them that everything is going to be okay, you could end up very easily with a lawsuit that's just a headache for you, because, it will never go anywhere, but it will just be a long-term headache for you. So it is very important to just reassure people and let them know that you're there. And if there are any complications, you will see them straight away and stuff like that. But however, if somebody is nervous, don't treat. And I always ask, if someone comes into me and they're like, oh, I'm very nervous, I just don't know, blah, blah, blah. Is it painful? Is it this? Is it that? Oh, I don't know. I will always go, hang on now. Is your nervousness is that going to, you know, the risks of you panicking, like, and having a meltdown or a breakdown, is that going to outweigh the results of having just bigger lips, because there's no point in getting the treatment? So I do make sure that my client is as psychologically ready for the procedure as possible. And if somebody turns up to the appointment and they are just not in the right emotional headspace, or the right, if they're just too on edge, I will tell them to step back and, you know, think about it for another week and come back to me. It's a tough sea to navigate, essentially, because you don't want to be turning away business. However, if you've been in it long enough, you know that sometimes turning away business is actually saving yourself an awful lot of money, time, and heartache, and that's not what you need either. Another person to stay away from would be anyone who has had a massive life event, a massive change in their life, be it the death of a child, mother, partner, father, sibling, you know, and they're coming to you in the weeks afterwards. Do not treat them. They are grieving, and it's too hard. They have enough on their plate, you know, and the truth is they aren't in the right headspace. If it's someone who often has treatments and, you know, decides that they want something done. I'm talking about someone who has never had anything and someone's died and they think, feck it, you know, I'm just going to get my lips done, or I'm going to get Botox, or I'm going to get this or that or the other. I wouldn't recommend treating them. And that can be the emotional charge is too much, and then you're throwing in something that they've never experienced that can be quite painful, that can have complications, and they're not already they're not emotionally equipped to deal with life, let alone dealing with complications of an aesthetic procedure that was meant to make them feel better about themselves. If somebody has say a wedding or a big birthday coming up, or they're in a wedding party and it's within, I say 2 weeks, and even at that, if they've never had any treatment and it's 2 weeks before a wedding, if it's the bride, no, just no. And I can't stress this enough. If anything goes wrong, if you get a vascular occlusion, if if they get a massive bruise that doesn't go away, you are the worst person in the world. You have ruined their wedding day. Do not treat somebody who has never had an aesthetic procedure within 2 weeks of a big life event. Full stop. If you do it, you're an idiot. And that is because, let's be fair, hitting an artery, and causing a massive bruise, or a vascular occlusion or vascular compression, or anything that will require them panicking over their looks before their wedding day, it can happen. It could happen to anyone at any time. You don't know. And we can only go with our training and our gut, but that doesn't rule out risks completely. So it is a stupid move. Don't do it. Just don't. Also, someone who's had a baby recently, there can be an awful lot of body issues, because trust me, it completely messes with your head. If you don't know, if you haven't had a baby, it messes with your head. Your body changes so much. It doesn't look as pretty as it once did. You've jiggly bits, you have stretch marks, you have, massive boobs or saggy boobs or whatever. And, it could be like in the 4th trimester, as they call it, just after the baby's born. And getting filler, I wouldn't recommend. And do you know what? I wouldn't recommend it I don't believe that yes, granted, our hormones are all over the place, but I don't think it's affecting, mentally it's affecting, it would affect women too much in general. It's more the fact that the hormones are still are running around your body, and your muscles are still loose and everything else, and you actually break down filler a hell of a lot quicker in postnatally. I don't know the exact rationale behind it, but women who have just had a baby tend to break down filler a lot quicker. So I usually say to people, just hold out. Just wait a little while and see if you want to still go ahead, and you know, and it'll last longer. And sure, they're most likely, you know, chained to a baby on, you know, well, they wouldn't be breastfeeding if they're getting filler, but they are most likely chained to a cot or a kitchen sink, you know, in the newborn stages of life. So it's not, you know, they're not leaving the house. So will lips really change their lives, or will it really enhance it, or could it just be, you know, throwing away good money if they had just waited a couple of weeks and those hormones have settled down and the filler will last longer? So I would make sure that people are mentally ready for the treatment before you treat them, and that is for so many reasons. Firstly, the emotional anxiety and upset, and you know, if there's physical trauma, like that can cause, I mean, from filler, and that can cause an awful lot of stress. And yeah, I know they would be a reason I would take a step back and don't treat. If they are someone who you believe you can help, or you know, you feel like you see them where they're at, yes, treat them. You could treat them, but it might come back to bite you. That's the only thing I would say. So best of luck in whatever you decide to do, and we will all make our mistakes as we go, because we are not perfect, and as much as our clients, you know, this is a hard industry to be in. And you know, people think you make a quick buck. You don't, because you are dealing with emotions. You are dealing with a world. You're trying to make some people attain a beauty that is only found with filters. And you know, it's a very sad place to be in when people aren't happy with the body they're in. Actually, that's one more thing I did want to say. I once had a client come, it wasn't once, it's been a number of times. Very, very young clients come, and say 18, 19, 20, and they tell me that they don't like their jawline, and they don't like their nose, and they don't like their lips are too small, and they have these lines here, and Kim Kardashian doesn't have those lines there. She does. It's a filter. And they are so upset with the way they look. They don't need you. They need counselling. They need to learn to love themselves, because changing themselves will not make them love themselves. It's like someone who is morbidly obese and they think that being skinny is going to solve all their problems, and it doesn't. It's the exact same. And yeah, so being there and being a voice of reason in a sea of people just dying to take their money makes you a good ethical practitioner. And that goes hand in hand with, you know, eliminating headaches as well. Your ethical practice goes hand in hand with eliminating headaches for you and your client. So these are all the people I would avoid treating until they are either emotionally or psychologically ready, and then at that stage they may find someone else. So don't hold your breath, but also know that you won't be having a massive hangover of a headache over them. And that's how we try to eliminate 20% of our clients causing 80% of our pain. I have attached in the link below how to grow your client list from 0 in 7 days. It is a lovely comprehensive list, very step by step, and if you want to grab it, just click the link and it will be emailed to you. Best of luck, and I'll talk to you soon.